Ramsuratkumar ki jai. Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar arpanam. On this holy Mahasamadhi day of Bhagwan Yogi Ramsuratkumar, we had this excellent golden opportunity to gather here and sing his powerful name in his powerful shine. It's a great gift of grace, and we shall celebrate this blessing with deep gratitude. On this day, as we sit this morning, I would like to share some of the experiences we had while Bhagwan was in the abode. When Bhagwan was admitted in Dr. Rangabhashyam clinic, at the age of 83, his body had taken enough punishment. As we go and prostrate before these great masters, there is an exchange. The hard-earned grace of God is being given to us by the great master in exchange for our sins. Can we even imagine it? We have no idea what transpires between a great soul and the suffering people around. Bhagwan used to say, even if there is one great soul who has become one with God, there will be less suffering around. And since these great masters have no mind which has been destroyed, Manonasham, they call it, Raman Maharishi calls it Manonasham. Only their body, which is made of the 5 elements of the earth, will be affected by the karmas, the bad karmas of people. With the result, the body of great masters suffer in great agony. Their body is just like our body, and the pain is as real as ours. He went through this operation at the age of 83 for the simple reason that he submitted his body to the care of the devotees, to the appeal of the devotees. Went through endless suffering. The chemo was also given one after the other. And as we were going to come, Dr. Rangabhashyam called me and said, I know Swami, for the sake of his father's work, would smoke. Even when he gets a little better, he may fall into this. I warn you, if he smokes even one single cigarette, it would destroy the effect of 2 or 3 chemos. And you people will be paving way for his Mahasamadhi. He said, what he told me. I said, yes, yes, yes. I could do nothing more. When we came back here on November 23rd, Bhagwan was seated in the chair that you see now next to his murti with his photograph. And then soon the devotees assembled there. And Bhagwan was asking, because he had returned of quite some time, he was asking if there was this board of electric lights saying, "Long live Yogi Ramsuratkumar." You can see it even now. He wanted to make sure it was still there. And then he asked us about the photograph that's behind in a corner, the northeast corner, with a lamp. It's called a Khanda lamp. It should never be put out. It must keep burning. So he wanted to make sure the lamp was kept burning all the time. And then he asked for a cigarette. He felt the need for certain father's work for which he needed to smoke. This is something that we expected, even the doctor expected, and that's why he called me and warned me. He said, you people have to pay dearly for this if you indulge. It was no indulging, it was specific work of the divine. We had no freedom to say yes or no. Now that apart, when he came here and asked for the cigarette, many of us were here and none of us dared give him what he wanted, knowing very well how it would harm him. And in the condition that he was after the operation, chemo, we could not think of even offering it. So he was asking one after the other, please give me a cigarette. It was so pathetic. It was eating up our hearts, heart-rending. But none of us dared. Who would dare? But there was one soul. It was the previous trustee, N.S. Mani's wife, Rajalakshmi. She could not bear it. And immediately she came up with a cigarette and offered it to him. I felt, in a way, happy that Bhagwan was not denied what he wanted, that there was somebody who could do it, who could bring themselves to do it. It was a great thing to obey a master instantly. At the same time, the panic was rooted in my heart. Not only me, Justice was also there. He came and said, the doctor had ordered not to do this. He was trying to tell Bhagwan that, but Bhagwan would not listen. He was bent upon having it, and Rajalakshmi provided it. So he was smoking. Who could decide what is right, what is wrong? Only when we are pushed into those moments. It is the heart, the dictates of the heart that take over. And then one day, when he was resting in the abode, he asked Rajeshwari Amma of the ashram to bring a pot of water, pour it over the murti of his installed some time back. And then he asked her to wipe it clean. He also said, do not put any malas. And then he wheeled. He was seated in a wheelchair those times. So he wheeled himself. There was somebody there to help from behind. He came up to the statue, the murti of Bhagwan, and he managed to touch the feet. And then somebody gave a little flower string of flowers, and he offered it at the feet and then came round and offered his namaskars. Now soon after that, it was the prana pratishta, they call it. The murti that comes as a stone or a bronze, it has to begin to breathe. We usually put it in the shrine and the Veda mantras are chanted, and the Veda mantras would wake up the sleeping consciousness inside a stone or a metal, and then this consciousness would reach a very high level. It becomes the grantor of the boons. Now here, Bhagwan did not have any Veda Parayana, no mantras. All of a sudden, he came right up to the murti. He went round, he worshipped it. And the murti began to breathe. And then he declared, whoever comes and prays before this murti, my father would rush to help. My father's help would come to them. My father's protection would come to them. True to his assurance, today we have many experiences of the devotees standing testimony to his promise. One day in the boat, when he was lying down, some very important person had come, someone very familiar to Bhagwan, played a very important role in his life, who had come to see. And then I told Bhagwan, so-and-so has come to see you. Bhagwan, who used to receive him with kindness before, now declared, who is that? I am that so-and-so. I am you, Devaki. I am all these people singing there in the Pradhan Mandir. I am all those people who visit this beggar. I am the cosmic controller. I run the whole cosmos. Devaki, I alone exist. There is nothing else, no one else. Not only that time, he began to say that quite often after that. One day, Shri Krishna Premi Swami of the Paranur Mahatma visited, and he saw Bhagwan. At the time, Bhagwan used to keep awake, and sometimes he would talk to us also. And so when the Paranur Mahatma came to him, Bhagwan looked so much like a baby, a very innocent, pure baby, that Shri Anna could not help caressing him and he kissed him on the scalp. It was a sight for the gods, the way they were together. And then the pain. They say the cancer pain is no ordinary pain. Somebody described it to me. It's like 1,000 snakes biting you at a time. Such was the pain that he was going through, yet there was no open crying. But in the nights, it used to be a little too much that he would occasionally cry out. He would wince now and then. It was an unbearable sight. I kept begging him again and again, Bhagwan, why don't you transfer it to me, to this body? You can do it. There are thousands of people who live depending only upon your grace, your help, your protection, your very presence. Please, Bhagwan, please transfer it to me. I would be so happy. My life would find its fulfillment. I kept begging him, but every time he would say, Devaki, Father's will prevails. Whatever Father wills, that alone will happen. We could do nothing about it. And once when the pain got too much, the doctor gave him morphine. After that, Bhagwan became very quiet. He closed his eyes. For 2 days, there was no sound from him. But the 3rd day, he opened his eyes. And the first thing that he asked me, Devaki, what did they give this beggar? What was this tablet? It felt like death. Tell them not to give it anymore. This beggar refuses to take. So that was stopped. That was given to him. It was a painkiller. But he could not accept it. He could not accept being unconscious. Sri J. Krishnamurti had cancer, and when the pain became unbearable, I read somewhere that he asked for morphine. Strange are the ways of these great masters. We can never get to understand them, why they do certain things. Some people do some things, and some others don't. Even Bhagwan Raman Maharishi, the first 2 operations he went through, without chloroform, he looked on when the operation was going on. He could detach himself completely from the body, was a pure witness. But after the 3rd time, the pain became too much, and by then his body had grown very weak. Shri Ganeshana told me once, it was only 2 times without chloroform he underwent, but after that, his body was unable to bear, and they had to give chloroform. I think he went through 4 or 5 operations like that. The body, every time we prostrate before a great master, as I said before, there is an exchange. I remember Sanadi Street House had a gutter right outside, and it would stink many times. It was used as public toilet. that I used to wonder whenever Bhagwan sat there in the veranda giving darshan, it would stink, and I used to wonder how a gutter could line up his house. This great soul who lived only for others. But then strange are the ways of God. Once I think I even asked him, when it was raining and the gutter water was there all over the road, and somebody had walked in with water dripping, and this water was everywhere on the veranda. So immediately I sprang up and said, Bhagwan, you see this gutter water is here in the veranda. Please, can I wipe it? I have the pallu of my sari, and there's a gunny back there. I can use any one of them. You know what Bhagwan said? He laughed and said, Devaki, this beggar's place is always full of gutter water. Don't think this is the only time. And then he looked at me in a strange way and smiled. And it flashed, as it always did for me, whenever he spoke in that veiled fashion. It flashed inside that every time people came and prostrated, they were offering their sins to him. He was working their bad karmas out by smoking. This beggar's place is always like this, Devaki. So you see, their mind, they have no mind of their own, but the body would be affected. Our sins will eat up their body. And that is why you see many, many great souls who move, who come down among the people with great compassion. Their bodies would have to suffer in the end. Once we begged him to save himself. Only he could do that. And what would be our condition if he should leave? Bhagwan said, don't worry, this beggar can do much better work without his body. Now that's our experience too. Now, after his Mahasamadhi, we see so many people coming to him and getting relief from their sufferings. So many what we call miracles happen around. Such is the energy of the place. Bhagwan is standing there as his murti, facing the south like Dakshinamurti. But he is not sitting even. He is standing. And his eyes are focused upon the Brahmarandra, the scalp. And there is a constant flow of grace, a constant beam. Some of us witness that. Beams of light coming out of his hand and touching everybody here. This used to happen even when he gave darshan in the dining hall, the old darshan mandir. Every time he moved his hand in a gesture of blessing or he raised it in benediction, there would be beams of light touching everyone without exception. Whether they were prostrating, they were filled with bhakti or faith or concentration, it touched them equally. But there was another process. It would get down quickly and deep. With some people it would just touch and leave. Probably there was enough resistance there. the grace can meet with resistance, then it cannot go deep. So Bhagwan, as he promised again and again, is doing so much work now, even more after his Mahasamadhi, and there's a constant smile on his lips. He has also assured us those who enter this ashram will not go empty-handed. My Father's blessings are pouring on them like rain. Whether they are aware of it or not, it is the truth, he said. It is Satyam. See, until yesterday there was no rain at all. It was very dry. But yesterday night, about 10 o'clock, it started to drizzle. And the whole night it was going on, the rain. At 1 o'clock, when I got up, I was a little worried and I was thinking, my God, why would Bhagwan do this? How would people come at 2 o'clock? 1:30 it stopped. It was clear. And then again it started around 4 o'clock. These rains come as a mark of a holy, auspicious time. Now this Bhagwan is here right in front of us with a smile, with assurance that I am ever living. Previously, people saw me as a body. So this beggar had to speak in a different language. This beggar had to say, this beggar, referring to this body which people saw as a body. But now this beggar is in everybody's heart. He is our very consciousness. He is our spiritual heart. He has become one with the supreme power. That's a very important incident that took place, which I forgot. In fact, that's the one thing that I wanted to say today. I just got carried away by my emotions. One day, Bhagwan began to close his eyes, and after that he remained without any gestures. On the one hand, this intravenous was going on, and because, he would shake it off sometimes, they tied up his hands. When people came to look through the window for darshan, he would use his free hand. He didn't have to look at all. He knew instantly if somebody appeared near the window for darshan, he would raise his left hand to bless them. And this was disturbing the arrangement. So his other hand was also tied up. And then whenever people came, stood near the window for his darshan, he would be lying down with eyes closed, but he didn't need the help of the eyes to see. He knew instantly if people came. He began to raise his legs. He would raise his leg exactly when somebody appeared near the window. And they understood it was a gesture of blessing. There was a communication between the devotee and Bhagwan. And then, because he was raising his leg and it was disturbing the intravenous arrangement, even his legs were tied. And then there was no movement at all. And then people began to say, the medical people began to say that he has gone into coma, a deep coma. It was a shock to me because I had always believed that these great people, the great souls, are embodiments of pure consciousness. there could never be any time they could become unconscious. So it was a shock to me, a contradiction I could not take. I suffered miserably after I heard that. I went and sat in a corner. I was unable to bear it anymore. And putting my head down, I started to cry. I was asking Bhagwan, how could this be? How could you get into coma? You are the embodiment of consciousness. How can you lose your consciousness? How can you become unconscious? It doesn't stand to reason. I just could not take it. I began to sob. I was crying my heart out, not even looking in his direction. And suddenly something made me look up. I saw his hand raising, asking me to come. Immediately I forgot all my grief, rushed there, put my hand, I said, Bhagwan. His hand raised itself, reached out my hand. He put his hand over mine and pressed it hard in assurance that he was conscious. That was his way of saying, let people say anything, I'm fully conscious. I'm ever conscious because I am the supreme consciousness. After that, my heart rested. So you see, he has now become the supreme consciousness in our spiritual heart. It is his consciousness that filters through our ego and become our limited consciousness. So we could break this barrier, this block, with the light of the Nama, make a pilgrimage inside to his place, the spiritual heart, the Chitakash, the Paramdam. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar. So let us offer our today's prayers at his feet. Didn't he declare that I am the cosmic controller? I run the whole cosmos. Bhagwan, it is only by your immediate divine intervention the condition of this world could change. There is panic reigning in everybody's heart, and there is the spread of diseases. And now there is the vaccination drive on. It's only you who could remove, uproot this panic from the hearts of people, arrest the spread of the diseases, enter the vaccine so that it could kill the virus once for all. The family of the virus. There are variants, they say. Bhagwan, please free the entire humanity from the clutches of this virulent virus and bring back normalcy in every aspect of life, in every country. Please give a lift to the falling economy and support all the measures towards its improvement. And above all, we beg you again and again for constant remembrance of your name. This could happen only by your grace. No matter how much we try, only your grace can make us succeed in that. And we want to be fitting instruments in your hands. We don't want to become instruments of Maya, the way the Kali Yuga is. It's so easy to create explanations, justifications after doing a certain thing. We don't want to be such instruments in the hands of Maya. We want to be fitting instruments in your hands. Only you could bless us with that. So let's go about our life as your instruments with a heart filled with deep gratitude for you. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar.